Hello, everyone. We are live. I'll wait as people gather to the spot. This is our Sunday mic check. Hopefully, you all have had a great week. Those of you that are going to be catching this on the replay, don't forget to check out our latest episode. And don't forget that tomorrow we're going to be doing our continuing the conversation. So we'll have the whole cast together to talk about our recent interview that Casey and Bonnie conducted with Juanita. So we encourage you to check that out. A lot of really great stuff in that episode, a lot to talk about. So hope you join us for that. Some more people are trickling in. Looks like it's just me today. I mean, from week to week at this point, I have no idea who's going to be popping in the room and check things out. So it's an adventure for all of us to see who pops in. It's sort of like a demented version of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. So Shannon, welcome. Thank you. Hope you are doing well. I always appreciate you dropping in before you go to see Casey and worship with him. Sarah, hello, welcome. Thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate it. This is our Sunday mic check. Hope everyone is well. How's everyone doing? This is our Sunday mic check. Just figuring out how things are going. It's been another one of those weeks. We're all, I'm sure, figuring things out as we go along. But yeah, I had a parenting first this week. I was playing Minecraft with my daughters yesterday, and they decided to do a little battle or whatever, and I got beat. My kids beat me real bad. And I thought, oh, that was just one kill. It was a fluke, but it happened every time. In fact, I never got really a shot in. So they have officially surpassed me in things, and it seems to be happening quicker and faster. So I don't know how many of you all relate with that, but yeah, I'm quickly becoming obsolete in the house. Soon I'm going to be going to them for help with certain things. I learn stuff from them every day. How's everyone else doing? How's your week going? Shannon, it's an interesting moment when our kids become better than us at things, for sure. It is. It's a humbling moment. I think had I been younger when I had kids, I don't think I would have had the patience for that. I might have reacted negatively, but now it's like whatever. Shannon, your 12-year-old shows you hacks all the time now. Oh, that's nice. See, I feel like when I get to that point, I'm like I said, now that I'm older, I'm much better at stuff like that. So, and I when I was working with adolescents, and I know it's different with kids, I would always try to make a habit of making sure that I asked more questions than offered advice, because to kind of develop that relationship and knowing that I can always learn from anyone, really. Sarah, that would happen with kids I worked with. I can play Zelda games like a champ, but when they had me play their newer games, I felt clumsy and awkward. Right. I feel you there. I know that day is coming. Like, they're still at a stage right now where they haven't discovered their own games yet. Everything that they've discovered so far, I've introduced them to. But yeah. And I've never been good at any kind of battle game. Like back in the day when everyone was playing Halo, I died every time. I rarely lasted like 30 seconds. So I never really enjoyed that one. The old school games now. Miss Pac-Man is my jam. I know that that's probably aging me a lot. But also the Zelda games. I played every Nintendo Zelda game and I love them. The latest one for the Switch, whew, that was so good. That was like one of the best games ever. I feel like our kids get better at cleaning the house better than us. That would be nice. That would be very nice. My family is gracious, though, when it comes to that kind of stuff, because I tend to be probably too meticulous when it comes to how I want our space to be. Um, and I'm sure that they get a little burdened sometimes, like, "Oh my gosh, dad, it's enough. It's fine. I know I could be better at that." But, I don't know what the word is for that. Perfectionism, meticulousnessism. I don't think that's a word. Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been one of those weeks. I can't believe it. I'm humbling and all that kind of stuff. I've also been kind of. I don't have any shows to binge watch, so I'm kind of now that I have at least once or twice a month, I would go to the movie theater. It's kind of more than anything, the movie theater is my sanctuary. It's where I went to get, watch a film and be in that space. I just love everything about it. And then that's obviously not going to be an option for me. And the way that certain theaters are treating reopening, it's likely 2020 I will not see another movie in the theater. So I've been trying to at the beginning of all this, I upgraded my TV, so I've been trying to take some time in the morning and watch some films, and then I've also been uh, signed up to this new social media platform called Letterboxd, where it's all centered around film and movie. So I've been trying to get my movie on here at home, and it's been going pretty good. I've seen some good stuff. There's some good original movies that are coming out, and then I've seen some not so good stuff uh, that I don't like so much. Um, but yeah, this week especially, I had a contrast of two movies that I watched. I watched the King of Staten Island, the new one with Pete Davidson, and then I watched Defy Bloods, Spike Lee's new film. And man, what a contrast! Uh, it might be spoilers, but if you haven't seen King of Staten Island, I wouldn't bother. I mean, his shtick is kind of funny, but I mean, essentially, the whole movie is just a post-adolescent white guy getting away with whatever he wants, so he can learn lessons to be a little less of an asshole in the end. Like, whoa, like that's perfect timing for a movie like that, right? Like, who needs another story about a man child? And then Defy Bloods contrast just the black perspective, or at least one black perspective of the Vietnam War. I mean, all of our war films have been dominated pretty much by white characters and the white experience, and this one was really, really powerful. Um, but I also one of my favorite film critics. She writes for Slash Film, and her name is Hoai Tran Bui, and she is Vietnamese, and said she talked to her parents. They watched that film together, and she had some really interesting perspective about how that whole Vietnam War era and how um, little there is in terms of accurate stories of people, the Vietnamese people themselves, and it's interesting to see all that. But it was a really well made movie, and powerful for performance by the main actor. His name is escaping me right now, but I encourage you to check that out. Anyone else watch any good movies? It was Yeah, it was really good. And then we were doing our family movie night, so we watched some other stuff that's more, you know, family oriented. A couple weeks ago we watched Abominable, which was a sweet movie. It was very nice. I liked it. Anyone else? Also in the midst of that, just a busy week in general, keeping busy with work, the show. We had some good stuff happening or coming up for Irenicast, so stay tuned for that because we had a I don't know, good meeting last night talking about episodes and extra stuff that we want to do going forward, and we're we've been really excited to use this platform a lot more with the Sunday mic checks, but then even more so with continuing the conversations on Mondays, where we kind of can unpack our episodes and hear more from you all, our listeners. So, got some good stuff on the horizon. Shannon, we liked Abominable too. We're working on our house a lot now, so we haven't sat down to a movie in a bit. Yeah, yeah, we're headed into that phase ourselves of kind of getting the house ready now that school is over. We've kind of taken a week or two just to let that that whole disaster of an experience of trying to homeschool our kids settle, and now we're gonna kind of like, okay, let's focus on some home projects and all that kind of stuff. Shannon, excited to see what Irenicast is bringing us soon. Yes, thank you. We are too. We're really excited about that. We've seen, it's been interesting to see. I mean, kind of essentially, we're a weekly show again in a ways, with now that we're putting that audio um from the continuing the conversation uh live feed. We're putting it into the podcast feed and seeing how that tracks. So anywhere along the way, we always appreciate your feedback in terms of anything really. Like, is it too much content that we're putting out there? um is Are there particular episodes or um topics that you'd like us to cover that we can kind of look at? All that stuff. We're really, really, really open to that. In fact, we had, I think I can't remember if it was an email or a comment recently, someone that went into our back catalog when it was just myself, Alan, and Mona. And there's a couple episodes that they thought would be really interesting to now have the perspective with Casey, Rajiv, and Bonnie. And we have some of that stuff coming up too to kind of revisit some old topics with new perspective. So a lot of fun stuff. Um, Shannon, yes, my husband and I are both fifth grade teachers, and we have a fifth and sixth grader. So distance learning was interesting. Yeah, I can't imagine. Like, my daughters, they just finished the first grade, and it was tough enough. Like, just one teacher taking track of that. But a coworker of mine, her kids are in middle school and high school, respectively, and I can't imagine doing that and keeping track of all the different classes. And then for the teachers in that situation, it's insane. Shannon, is your sixth grader? Are you in an area where it's middle school, or is it junior high where they'll be have multiple classes next year, or was that part of their experience this year? I know that some regions of the country are different when it comes to middle school and junior high. Um, when I was growing up here in California, it was everywhere I went, it was always junior high. But then it seems like lately more and more have gone to more of a middle school model where they're sixth through eighth as opposed to just seventh and eighth. Okay, so she was in sixth elementary this year. Yeah. I mean, I like that better, but that was just because my experience, and then that just made junior high uh, less. Junior high was not a good time for me. So I can't imagine having an extra year of that. I really enjoyed my sixth grade year. Out of all my years in school, the sixth grade year was by far my favorite. I just had a great teacher. It was kind of like I don't know. I enjoyed sixth grade. I don't know about everyone else, but I did not like junior high, and high school was okay. Yeah. So look at that, jumping around. That's what I like about the Sunday mic check, is we can go from film to school to video games and back and forth, and just based on how everyone else is doing. So, um, yeah. How today is Father's Day, so happy Father's Day for all of you that have fathers or are fathers, and then I know it's not easy day for a lot of people as well. So I want to acknowledge that as well. Sarah loved high school. Middle school was a rough time. Yeah, middle school was. Maybe that's just universal. I don't know if anyone's seen that film. Man, now I can't remember if it's called Middle School or Junior High. It's directed by Bo Burnham, I think. Came out like last year, the year before. Pretty, pretty accurate, at least from my experience. Pretty accurate portrayal of the awkwardness and difficulty of that junior high era of life. Uh, I I mean, I can't imagine doing it now with social media and smartphones and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't I couldn't imagine. I just couldn't. So good on all those students who are in that phase right now and working through. I have a lot of admiration and respect for those that are in junior high and high school. I know teenagers get a lot of crap in our society, but I think they're some wonderful people and they're doing their best in a world that we've messed up for them pretty badly. Yeah, I find that high school, especially, people have varied experiences on how well that was. I think overall I liked high school, but most of my friends, my friend group was not at the school that I went to. So the actual high school experience, it was just kind of go to school, do my thing. But that era of time in my life was amazing. Um, in fact, I was just recently, myself and my high school group of friends, we've started gathering together monthly on Zoom and kind of reconnecting, and it's been a lot of fun, a lot of good memories, a lot of good times in there. And it was, centered around a youth group, which had its moments, but I think overall was a good experience. Too bad it wasn't surrounded by good theology or anything like that. But Robin, hello, welcome to the Sunday Mic Check. I hope that you are doing well. We're talking high school and movies and all kinds of stuff. So feel free. We're gonna just take this as random as possible. So as random as possible. So feel free to comment, say how you're doing, what you're doing. I'm curious also like how everyone's doing in terms of what your area looks like as far as reopening is concerned and how your how you personally are working through that and in comparison to the community around you where you live. Um, my area is starting to open up pretty quickly, and just like everywhere else, we're seeing bigger numbers. Shannon, I feel blessed that my parents got me involved in youth group and in middle school and high school. It gave me a instant group of friends. Shannon, I'm with you 100%. Like my high school youth group experience, I learned a lot, but man, that was my home. That was my community. I wouldn't be where I'm at today without that experience. And it's why I became a youth pastor myself for so long, just to help provide that same kind of place for people. Um, Robin, my parents were done by the time I got to high school. I had to be an adult, and it was hard being a kid in high school. I feel you there too, Robin. I had to, because of my parents' situation, I had to grow up a little bit quicker as well. Um, and I had a younger sister who's amazing, one of the greatest people in the world. But had to look after her, and there's a lot of growing up too soon. I wish I had opportunities to be more of a kid as well. Um, Band was my social group in high school. I gained a lot of confidence there. Yeah, that was the nice thing about high school is that you can really have those interest groups, before there were chat rooms and social media and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I had a lot of friends who were in band. I know that the drama group was also a really tight knit group at my school, at least. And obviously, there's been a lot of unfortunate stereotypes with certain groups in high school, but it doesn't seem to be the case now. Like the it seems less segmented, but maybe that's just me. I haven't had a lot of connection with students for a while. But yes, music, the choir, and drama were so important to me. Yeah, all my favorite people in high school were in those realms of creativity. I had a very different high school experience, and there was a lot of different groups, but I was somehow I ended up in an honors English class my freshman year, and English was my worst subject. I don't like writing, hence starting a podcast. And it was the best class I ever took in high school, hands down. First, there was a lot of really cool, creative students in that class, a lot of songwriters, a lot of people that were involved in the drama department, stuff like that. But the teacher taught us like story and illusion, like it wasn't about like we had to write a bunch of stuff. We got to do these projects on different authors. Like at the time, I picked Stephen King to do a bunch of stuff. Like there was a lot of freedom in terms of what we could explore in terms of story, and I learned a lot in that class that really carried over into my later education at in my theology degree and my biblical studies, and really understanding how narrative and story work, and it really set the path for me to um, story in general really was a basis for a lot of the work that I have done and continue to do. So I really it was a great class. You guys are sending me down memory lane here. So yeah. Shannon, tell KC I said hello off to virtual church. Thank you very much. Happy Father's Day to you and yours as well. Um, I'm just curious. I mean, you don't have to divulge this, but what was everyone's graduating year in high school? Just get a gauge for kind of where our audience is. I'll go first since I'm bringing the question. I graduated in 97. So that was my graduation year from high school. You don't have to share. I'm just putting it out there. Just putting it out there. It was random, just filling space, but I usually have like some sort of earbuds in or whatever, and I realized like I don't really need them if it's just me. I don't need to hear anything coming from the computer. But I'm also realizing how used to I've gotten because we record the podcast. Um, how used to I need to get listening, or how used to I've gotten to listening to my own voice. And now it feels a little untethered, almost like I'm not connecting or whatever. But uh Sarah, class of 2010. Okay, nice. Wow, we got a diverse group here. Class of 82, Robin. Yes. Love that. And look at that. We got all the major decades represented right here. We got the 80s, the 90s, and then 2010. You're kind of right on the cusp of the 2000s and the teens. What do we call that decade? The 2010s or the 2000 teens? I don't know. All I know is that it's weird to say that we're officially in the 20s. Right? When I was growing up, it was like the roaring 20s would like that's you associated the 20s with something old, and now we're in the 20s. Strange. Like this for my kids, this is going to be like their defining decade, which is really strange to me. Like the 20s will be their equivalent of my 90s. I'm sure that Kit 1970, very nice. Look at that, man. We got everyone here. Welcome. I'm so happy to see such a diverse range of people listening and engaging with the show and everything we're putting out there. So thank you, Kit. Welcome. Wow, what a I mean, I can't imagine just like since the 70s till now, how much has dramatically changed, and then how much stuff has not changed at all, unfortunately. But wow, yeah. So 70, 82, 2010, 97 for myself. I'm trying to think our co-hosts what years they graduated high school. I guess I should ask them and not assume. I know Alan's because I knew him his senior year. I think I knew him. So, but I don't remember the year. I think it was like 2003 or whatever. I think him and Casey are pretty similar in age. But yeah, wow. A lot has changed. So there's anything else? How's everyone else doing? Any thing happening? Anyone listen to our Kit virtual church coffee hour? Goodbye. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. People coming in and out. Yeah, I know that we when we did the Sunday mic check, I chose Sunday morning mostly because I didn't have anything going on, and all the other hosts have church responsibilities, and with everything being virtual now, I didn't have anything to do, and I wanted to test out this platform and get to know our listeners a little bit better. So It's funny on Sunday mornings to see the scrolling list of churches uh, that are on my Facebook feed. I remember when I left my last position as a youth pastor within the evangelical denomination I was a part of. Uh, my wife and I, we realized, okay, we've had a very specific church experience for the last, excuse me, you know, decade plus. So we made it a point to, for at least like, well, first we took a couple weeks off, and then for the first 3 months outside of that bubble, we were like, we're going to go to a different church every week, and we like explored everything. We went to um, Episcopalian, which is way out of our range at that point in time. Presbyterian. We went to a Baptist church. We went to a Lutheran church. We went to everything in our area. We even did Eastern Orthodox, which was by far my favorite like church experience in terms of the novelty of it and it being so far outside of my experience. And they had wonderful people there. Learned a lot. Uh, and then one church we went to, it was strange. It looked exactly like the church we had just left, but like everything was in reverse. So, it was like Bizarro World. It was very weird. It was very weird. It just had this like this feeling that we stepped out of this like portal and we were in a very familiar place that was very unfamiliar at the same time. It was the strangest church experience, but it was just because of the aesthetic. It was nothing they did or anything like that, but it was just very weird. Very, very weird. So now I don't need to go out every week. I can just scroll through my Facebook feed and see all these different ways that people are doing churches. Some better than others. Some people are learning how to use the platform better than others, but I guess it's the nature of churches, which I'm sure eventually we'll explore in greater detail on the show. I think we had an episode a while back before about the church experience and stuff. So maybe that's something we can talk about more. But all that to say, that's why I picked Sunday morning mic check, just to kind of have this time to jump on and maybe give some sort of alternative thing that's just not church, that's a little bit more lighthearted, checking in, seeing how people are doing. Sarah went to church once where they were talking about government conspiracies and their going kids being seers and having these divinely appointed jobs. That was an odd visit for us on vacation. Oh, wow. That sounds very Pentecostal to me. That sounds very familiar to some of the church experiences I had growing up. Um, it's interesting you say that on vacation. I've had varied thoughts about this over the years in terms of people, but when I was working in church, when I was on vacation, the last thing I wanted to do was go, even in my most devout stage, the last thing I wanted to do was go to church on my vacation. But then I know some people that still are, very like, you have to go to church on Sunday. Even if you're on vacation, you find a church to go to. Uh, so yeah, I mean, the only time I went to church on vacation on purpose was my wife and I took a trip to Chicago the year before we left uh the evangelical church we were part of, and we went to Chicago and we're like, well, it's like a few hour drive to go into Michigan, and at the time Rob Bell was still pastor of Mars Hill, so we decided we wanted to check that out. And actually it was a really positive church experience. I really enjoyed a lot of it. um at that time especially, he was a very formative voice for me and helping me articulate some stuff that I was working through. So I think that's the only time I can really remember like purposely going to church on vacation. So I'm curious, Sarah, is that like is that part of your family tradition, or is that was just that one particular time, or did this experience just be like, nope, we're not doing that again? Uh, yeah, church experiences can vary in many different ways, and what we encounter. Um, yeah, during that time when I was a youth pastor, I did visit some of the mega churches for like conferences and stuff. Like I did Saddleback once or twice. Um, And those were always interesting experiences where I mean, I know there's always a performative aspect to churches a lot, but when you go to those settings and their Sunday services are in conjunction with maybe like a conference that they're doing or whatever, uh, it just feels like a presentation. Um, Well, my brother and I would always seek out a church on Sundays on vacation. My brother and I are much more spiritual than my parents. Not sure why. We've always sought out spiritual practice. My husband and I sometimes do this as well. That's awesome. That's really that's really great. Yeah. I mean, to each their own. I totally get that, and I think that's interesting. I wonder how much maybe that's what it was for me is that my family, you got to go to church, and it was just more of like I got to be the opposite. I don't know what that was, but uh, when we left church and we decided to explore for that first time, it was good to see those different perspectives and see how other people practice their faith. But um, yeah, it's funny how church is for some people. Like some days I feel like I could leave it, take it or leave it. Um, ugh, there's a spider on my camera. Um, and then other times I'm just fascinated by. I honestly I can't ever say that I've really like crave it for like a spiritual reason. I mean, maybe that sounds weird. Maybe that's just I'm jaded or something. But I go like to me, the much more fascinating and interesting and engaging part of church is just to see how people do it, like where they're connecting, how they choose to worship. Like in my head, asking like, how did this come about? Why do they continue to do this? What does this provide for people? So it's much more of like a curiosity exercise for me when I go to churches and church places now. Um, and then I'm also I mean, at this point, since not being on staff at a church, when we do visit church or we do go to church, I'm always kind of standoffish than I used to be because there's always that when people find out that you're good at something, then the church kind of can swoop in a little bit and take up a lot of your time. Um, Sarah, I understand. Most people want to get away from the normal grind on vacation. Church has never been part of the grind for us. That's great. I think that's a good thing for churches to think about you what are the needs of your community? Why do people want to go? How can you bring them out of the daily grind into a renewing experience? Yes, like 100%. I feel like that a lot of churches struggle with that balance of relevance and escapism, where you want it to be, a sanctuary, a place where you can come and feel renewed, but you don't want it to be so disconnected from the world around you that you feel like important issues aren't being addressed and that you're not equipped to go back out. So how do you create a spot where you're rejuvenated, but also at the same time, um, given some tools to cope? It's a really tough balance, and I've seen a lot of things on either side of it that have been really like I've seen people that just have been in church settings where they've just done that horribly, where it's like everything in there is so disconnected from the world outside that you're like, what good is this for me? Um, and maybe it's just a fine line between rejuvenation and escape, and it ebbs and flows, changes depending upon what's happening in the world around us. I mean, especially right now, the balancing act that pastors have to maneuver to create a space of hope and longing while everything in the world right now is happening and addressing those real concerns and real evils in our society. It's tough. It is tough. That's great. Like there's that normal grind on vacation, but yeah, that there's some sort of comfort also in having that familiarity and just checking out something new for sure. Yeah, I'm just running through my head like what could we how could we frame a good conversation in the show about the idea of church, especially since all of the other co-hosts are all, you know, pastors and kind of in the grind right now. in terms of what that workload and work looks like. You got me thinking, Sarah. But just want to write this down before I forget it. Uh, I just That'd be good. I think the episode we did do with Mona, it was less about like church in general as a concept, but it was about um like worship styles. Uh like because we all came from evangelicalism and we all had a particular worship style that fit us. And I'm trying to remember what that episode was. I'm gonna find it and put it in. I wonder if it's there. Yes, it's episode 147. It's been a while since I've listened to it, and I kind of vaguely remember the conversation. But I'm gonna put it here in the oh, not 147, 47. Yeah. Yeah, it was. I remember it would be in the tagline for that episode was I'm deconstructing the heart of worship. Sometimes we got a little too clever with our titles. Uh, yeah, renacast.com/47. If you're interested, that's just an older episode that kind of really the only time I think we were explicit about the church experience. Um, oh, it says an error occurred. An error occurred. Can't speak, which is great. Um, yeah. So here, let me put it up here. This is compelling. I know, watching me type something. But I have this wonderful back catalog of episodes that I probably should also go through and whatever. It didn't work. Anyway, Sarah will be curious to check it out later. I've got to head to my father-in-law's house. Happy Father's Day and have a good day. Yes, Sarah, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of the day with your family. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for giving me your time this morning. Take care. Appreciate it. Appreciate your feedback, especially about church. It's good stuff. So yeah. Well, I think this has been fun. Anything else before we kind of close out? I know that this is one of those days. A lot of people have stuff going on, so um, I'll bounce a little early this morning and let everyone get to their stuff. So thank you so much for joining me for Sunday Mic Check. We're going to definitely be doing this through June. There might be some changes in July, but haven't decided fully yet. Oh wait, Robin, I listened to a podcast yesterday and don't know the number. It was about the feminist perspective of the Bible. I loved what I was learning and want to learn more. Oh yeah, that was one of our more recent episodes. I think that was one of the first ones of this year that we did towards the beginning. I'm trying to remember what episode number that was. Um, Yeah, that was a fun one. That was actually, the show notes and the conversation was set by, Rajiv and Bonnie put that conversation together, in terms of kind of the where we were gonna go with that one, and that one really fun. It's amazing. Oh, yeah, that was, episode 163, A Feminist Approach to the Bible. Read like a woman was the little tagline we put on it, but yes. Can we do more on that subject? I will write that down. We did for a while. We had like kind of like a Bible series um, of podcasts, but yeah, I'll definitely run that by everyone, see if there's anything that we can do to expand that. I will say, kind of some of the things that we are working on for the future is actually working on making courses available. I mean, everyone on the show are just super talented and super educated in the areas of theology and biblical studies, and we're working on ways that we can kind of um, put together some courses that will be helpful for our listeners to kind of go to that next level. So yeah, so Robin, thank you. I'll definitely keep that in mind, and we will bring that up. And if you ever have any specific questions regarding those, please always feel free to email us. If you do email us at podcast@irenicast.com, then we'll get that, and we try to pass that along to all of us so that we know who's writing in. We're all full-time employed somewhere else, so be patient with us, but we do read them and we do check that out. So thank you for that suggestion. Yeah, it's a great subject. You know, a lot, we miss a lot in probably the biblical interpretive frameworks we were given when we were younger. So absolutely, thank you. All right, well, I think that'll do it for this week's edition of Sunday Mic Check. So I will see you all next week. It might just be me. There might be someone else. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who's going to pop in, but I will definitely be here next week. So I hope everyone has a great Father's Day, if that's a positive place for you. Otherwise, I just hope you have a good day in general. So until next week, and then don't forget, also tomorrow will be our continuing the conversation. So all of us hosts, most likely all of us, but at the very least, 4 of us will be on there and talking about our recent episode. So if you want to be a part of that conversation, you can join us tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Hop on here, or you can watch the replay later on YouTube or Facebook, or you can just check the podcast feed, because it'll be, the audio of that will be on the podcast feed on Wednesday. So yeah, so thank you everyone for joining me today, and take care and have a great coming week. So take care, and we'll see you next time.